I am an Indian Muslim and I'm growing an interest in knowing ancient Indian history, culture, and society. How are the Ramayana and Mahabharata related to each other? If not, then what are the differences? I am asking about context and time period and social system, etc. at the time. So it's an enormous question you asked. It's like, see, firstly, we don't quite know when the Mahabharata happened and when the Ramayana happened. There are a lot of claims that researchers have brought that the researchers have put forth based on various evidences that we have, especially archaeoastronomical evidence. But yet, there are lots of competing claims, so we don't know for sure yet when the Mahabharata happened and when the Ramayana happened. What we know is that the Mahabharata is a more recent event, and the Ramayana is a much older event. These were two very distinct phases in Indian history, and both are several thousand years old. Uh, so that's what we know about these two very important chapters of Indian history. Now, how was the society? It was Indian society. It was a pre-invasion society. There were no traces of either Turkic culture or Arabic culture or Western Christian culture, etc., etc. It was purely Indian. That's what we know. The Ramayana is an older event. It is the story of Lord Rama, who was sent into exile by his father on the insistence of his stepmother, who was his father's second, third, whatever wife. And it is the adventures that befall upon him, his brother, and his wife during their exile. His wife is kidnapped. Devi Sita is kidnapped by the tyrannical barbarian Ravan, who lives in the island of Lanka. And then the entire thing is to recapture, to free Devi Sita from the clutches of this barbarian, this demon, who is portrayed as a demon. So that is what it is. So in the geopolitical milieu of the region is such that Lord Ram is the king or the prince of Ayodhya in northern India, which is the region of Delhi today, and he goes all the way to the south of so the southern regions of India, crosses the ocean and reaches Lanka. So it is an adventure that spans the entire Indian subcontinent, more or less, at least from northern regions to the southern regions. In the Mahabharata, it is the battle. It is a war for the throne of Hastinapur, which is again in northern India, in the region of Delhi nearby, and it is a fratricidal war. It is a war within a single family between two sets of cousins, and a large number of other kingdoms are also involved. So the war is not for the whole of India, it is merely for the throne of Hastinapur. And many other kingdoms are involved, from Gandhara all the way to the northern parts of India, now Afghanistan, and many other kingdoms were also involved. So it looks like during the Mahabharata era, India was more densely populated. You have many more competing kingdoms and all that compared to the Ramayana era. We don't know exactly what form of Indian languages was spoken. Most likely some form of Sanskrit, whether it was pre-Vedic, most likely post-Vedic forms of Sanskrit, and most likely pre-Paninian forms of Sanskrit. But the Paninian form of Sanskrit arose perhaps around 500 BCE, roughly. That is the rough time period when the great Panini, the great linguist and grammarian Panini lived, and his Sanskrit, the Sanskrit that he codified, is the classical Sanskrit, and everything that came before that is either Vedic or post-Vedic Sanskrit. I am sure there was pre-Vedic Sanskrit as well. So that is in brief about the Ramayana Mahabharata era. These are definitely historical events. Western scholars and Indian mentally colonized scholars and Indian Marxist historians will definitely say that these are myths, but these are simply their opinions. There is a great deal of evidence that attests to both these periods of Indian history and to both these wars, Dwarka and the Ramasetu, that totally proves that these events happened. The only thing is we need to determine when these events happened. So that is in brief, in very brief. You could have a week-long lecture session to talk about the kind of society and social system and political system, etc., and military tactics you had in those eras. But I'm just giving you a 5-minute answer. Maybe that can set you off in the direction of studying this further.